Okay, so well, first of all, just a bit of chronological reference point for everyone. We're recording this on the 11th of January 2011, and the current release is CodeRush 10.2. Near the end of this, however, I'm going to switch over to a daily build, and I'm going to show you features we're working on for 11.1. Some things are already working, and also tell you what's coming, a little bit of what's coming as well. So for folks who are watching this, and if you're watching this in a time frame before 11.1 releases, you will see some stuff that's coming soon. And the other exciting piece of information there is that what I will show you is actually allegedly available in a daily build. So if it turns out that I'm wrong on that, we'll fix that and make it available soon in the daily build. So if you want to get a daily build, try out some of the new features you'll see at the end of this session. I think you'll have fun with that. Okay, so consume first declaration. This is the essence behind this is here. Let's go ahead and get this started. Let's call this story, and we'll come down in here and we'll create a method called tell to tell the story. And down here, I'll write some code that says maybe the tail time is equal to, and I'll use a template DTN for date time now. And so I have created a reference to something that doesn't exist. Essentially, this is what we call consumption code, and then I can hit the CodeRush refactor key and choose one of the options to then declare it. So, for example, I can declare this as a field, and there's the declaration. So that's an example of consume first declaration. The essence again is that I write the code around the piece that's not declared yet to provide contextual information to CodeRush. And then I hit the CodeRush refactor key. The default for that is control plus the backtick, but I have to declare /refactor. However, I have mapped it to num0 on my keyboard, and that's one of the options that you can change on that. I'll show you where you can change those options. It's in DevExpress options, and inside IDE shortcuts. And if we sort by commands, there's the optional one right there. Let's unsort by commands. We'll maximize this so we can see more. So here is the alternate binding num0, and I have it enabled, and it just is bound with the command refactor. So refactor was, and it may be odd, the name that we appear to have chosen for this command, refactor. This actually is based on the history of the product. Originally, it was one key access to all refactorings, and then we needed to then list off all the declaration features that we were adding and put those in a menu as well. And it just didn't make sense to have a second shortcut binding to bring these up. It made more sense, in our opinion, to have both refactorings and code providers inside a single menu. So it still uses the old command refactor, but it will also do declaration pieces as well. So that's one example of this. Let's keep going. Let's create, for example, a new comic book. And whoops, that was IntelliSense that tried to help me out there. And
there is
yes,
a way you can tell IntelliSense in 2010 not to do that for you.
You know, you tell me this, I think, every time, Rory, and I am just not learning it. It's like control something space or something. What is it? Tell me,
Rory. As it happens, it's actually an icon as well. On your second toolbar down, I think it's Control-Alt-Space, it's the keystroke. But it is also the fifth icon in on that second toolbar.
Right here. Yeah, Control-Alt-Space.
So when you hit space and there's an IntelliSense option, unless you have gone down into the IntelliSense, it will not automatically pick it for you.
Nice. Okay, I'm going to try recreating that so we can see that. There we go. Comic book. And so now if I hit
see,
the
there's
closing
that extra
brand,
row was there.
Beautiful. Yeah, you know, that is I'm actually glad that you brought this up, Rory, because this is an important thing. If you're doing TDD style development, test-driven development, or if you're doing consume first development, like in the examples we'll be showing here, that's a great option to select, because otherwise you're going to get IntelliSense coming in for things that don't exist yet. Yes, excellent, Rory. So, okay, so I've got code to create a new comic book. So at this point, I can do a couple things. I can hit the CodeRush refactor key, and I can declare a local. And notice where the caret is. The caret's outside the line. So I've hit The idea is I'm like maybe here, right? I hit the open paren, CodeRush does the close paren. I hit the semicolon, CodeRush moves me out and puts the semicolon there. Then I hit the declare key, the CodeRush refactor key, right? And then I select the piece I want. So I can choose declare local, and it'll give me that. Or I can choose declare local implicit, and it'll give me a var declaration. Okay? So those are options there. Now watch what happens if I move the caret onto the actual reference to the comic book class / constructor, and I hit the CodeRush refactor key. Now I have an option to actually declare the class or to declare the struct. Okay, so let's do declare class, and there you can see the class has been declared. I like to move this out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose move type to file. So I've got one file associated with every type, and over here you can see in my Solution Explorer what's happening. I now got the file called comic book. Let's come back over here. On new comic book, let's declare that local, and now let's copy that to the clipboard and come down. In fact, you know, something I should show you on this. I'm kind of doing this in fast motion. Let's do it in slow motion now. So declare local. When I hit enter on this, it suggests a name comic book. I'm okay with that. It's got an orange border around it. We saw earlier in the in one of the sessions we did on the introduction to CodeRush, where we talked about this orange box. It's a field. And so when I hit enter on this field, it's going to take me to the next field, or if there's no more field, if there are no more fields, it'll take me to the final target, which is indicated by this symbol right here at the end of the line. So I just hit enter and I jump to the end of the line. So it's a really fast, efficient way of working, right? One key right here, enter is the second key I hit. Comic book, I'm okay with the name, enter is the third key I hit, and I'm done, right? These are big keys, right? That num0 rebinding I've got is an easy key to hit. If you don't use the numeric keypad while you're coding, I recommend you enable the alternate bindings and you run with them. So I've got comic book that I've just declared. Now I can come down in here and make some calls to methods in here that don't exist yet. So I can, like, for example, let's set a property like, for example, page count, and set that equal to 42. All right. Okay. So here again, I've got a reference to something that doesn't exist, consume first development, right? And I'm going to hit the CodeRush refactor key, and now I have some options. I can declare a property, and I can declare a property if I just choose this one without any other additional information in parens, this one right here, declare property. I get this right here, just with getters and setters that are not implemented. Yeah, this is one that I was not going to talk about, but I just realized it's an important one. Sometimes when you have an interface, here, let's do this. Let's extract an interface from comic book. So I'm totally going off of what I planned to talk about, as usual. All right, so I now deleted that. Now let's come down in here. Let's use Visual Studio's feature to implement the interface. So I'll implement the interface, and what does Visual Studio give you? It gives you this. Well, if you do this, right, if you have an interface that has properties in it, and you choose Visual Studio's feature to implement it, you put the caret here inside the name of the property, and you hit the CodeRush refactor key, you can convert it to a property with backing store, like that. Have you seen that before, Rory?
Well, that's much more useful, isn't it?
Have you seen that before? Rory, is this new for you? Or?
No.
Yeah, I was thinking, so if you're following the series, one of the things that is a challenge perpetually for me is to try to find something that Rory doesn't know and show him. And then Rory, inevitably, he's not, I guess, as driven as I am in this effort to try to, to one-up me. But inevitably, he still finds things that I don't know every time. Every show so far, I've learned something from Rory. So at any rate, I was hoping this was the only thing I thought I had for to get to it. But maybe the new features, I'll be able to surprise you there. But okay, so at any rate, back to the content. So very cool what just happened, right? We went from something that looked like this, that normally would be a lot of keystrokes to add backing store to there, right? And we just in a single keystroke, we came in and said convert to property with backing store. It's beautiful, beautiful feature that's in CodeRush. This I'm showing right here is this feature is tab to mix reference. We talked about that, I think, last week in navigation. We were talking about navigation, if my memory is. We did, yeah. Okay, so consume first declaration. What is cool about consume first declaration? Let's jump back to where we were over here. What's cool about it is we get to write code from the consumer's point of view.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, for example, here instead of having to deal with an API, maybe there was, imagine the other way around this. So we're in here and we say, well, you know what, we don't want, we're just writing this comic book, and so the writer, the author of the comic book comes in and says, well, let's create a setter method for it, right? And uses CodeRush to create that bit of code right there to set the page count. Okay, so we jump back over here, and so now the consumer is using this, and they say, okay, set page count, and then they pass in the number, right? So when we do it the traditional way, what happens is sometimes you get an API that's a little unwieldy, right? A little harder to use, right? Because the original author is just saying, oh, I need to set this variable. The author is not in the mindset of the consumer.
That's right. He's not seeing it in the context in which it will end up being used.
Exactly, and so that's one of the. In fact, I think, in my opinion, that's one of the strongest benefits of consume-first development, or this aspect of test-driven development that you get is you get an API that is built for consumption. So I like that. I like that about this. So we'll go ahead and remove this. Let's go ahead and remove this. So by the way, whoops, that's a little bit too far back. I was jumping back a little bit too far. So let's go back over into here. So we'll go back to where we were on this. Say page count is equal to 42. Actually, you know what? Let me undo this a second. Let's implement this. And we'll call this page count. So I'm just kind of reversing and recreating the problem here. Because since we're talking about this problem, it might be good to actually show how to fix it. So now we've got this call to set page count. I'm using tab Linux reference to get out there to it, right? And now if I come in here and I say, hit the CodeRush refactor key, I can choose method to property. And there it will create a new property for me called page count. There it's updated the code. So even if so the cool thing about CodeRush is, right, I just use a refactoring, is even if the original design is not built for consumption, it's not too hard to make some changes to fix that. So here I've got page count, and notice I have a setter inside of it, right? So let's come down in here, but I don't have a getter yet. Because
CodeRush has seen it so far, you've not referenced it, so you don't need one, so far at least.
Exactly, that's the assumption. So if I come down here and I say if page count is equal to 0, then, I don't know, well, let's return maybe, for example. And now we have the squiggly lines underneath this. We can indicate that it doesn't understand. It's undeclared. We can hit the CodeRush refactor key, and we can choose declare getter. Right.
Excellent.
Okay. And so now we've got the getter on it, and it's just added that for us automatically. Let's kill the setter. Let's remove the setter, jump back to where we were. Now this is no longer functional, right? Hit the CodeRush refactor key, choose declare setter. Okay, and so there we go. We're just building the pieces in.
So Mark, quick question then, just on the basis of that. If you were to have, if you were to obliterate the implementation of page count now and go back to the usage, and if you were to try declaring the property from scratch, would it analyze both references, both the writing and the reading from it?
That is a great question, and I'm pretty sure the answer is no, it will not. So it's a two-step process, I think. Let's see what happens, though. I could be wrong. Every once in a while I get, let's do it with backing store. Oh, we've got this private page count. So watch this, we have a collision as well. See, we already have a page count variable here. So notice what's happened. Okay.
It's done it anyway, though.
so check it out. Yeah, the crowd goes wild. Right? So check this out. It apparently saw both, is what it looks like to me. We can comment this out and test this. The other thing it did is it also saw the collision with the field variable, so it created a different field variable for us, right? Because I only deleted the property. Let's do some tests on this and just explore this a little bit more to see if it is in fact smart or if it's maybe just dumb. So let's come over here, and actually I think we already did these tests, didn't we? Or no, we were just doing add setters. Yeah, there you go. There's the reader, the read-only property because of this reference, right? Nice. That's pretty cool. I love it.
It knows what you need at the end of the day. It looks at the code, the way you've used it, the way you've said you want to use this new API that hasn't even been written yet, and decides to stub it out for you expressly based on what you need.
Yes, it apparently does this. It appears to be, check it out, kids, it appears to be intelligent. Oh, wait, no, it's not. Look, do you see what just happened? I had a setter on it. So I think I was on the setter before, Rory. It gave me the getter, and I'm actually totally comfortable with this, right? if I have a setter, you almost always need a getter anyway. So it's like I'm okay with this in this particular context doing this.
Okay.
So anyway, well, you know what? Here's the thing though. Rory's question totally leads us to what we're working on for 11.1. That's the cool thing though about that. So let's go back to all right. So okay. So I totally was distracted by that. I was like thinking, oh, how exciting! It's so super smart. It's looking through all the code. Turns out it was not. It was just on the setter, and it did that anyway. So okay, good to check this stuff out anyway, because you never want to be in a state where you're in awe of something that you really don't need to be too in awe of at this point. So okay, so we've got a new comic book. We've set the page count equal to 42 on that. So we've talked about declaring essentially consumption-based declaration. Now, one of the things that's happening every time I bring up the menu. In fact, let's undo this and let's jump back to where we started here. Over here in page count, every time I bring up the menu and I choose a menu item here in the code menu or in the refactor, if we see the refactoring coming up, and it takes me away from where I start, right? It's dropping a marker for me back there at the starting location. So if I want to get back to it, I can press escape. So what happens is code creation becomes this hyper efficient mechanism where you're pressing the fewest keys, really the fewest keys possible, and yet you're able to jump and kind of time or space warp, from one place to another in your code, and then jump right back to where you were without missing a beat. This device right here is the target picker, and this allows me to select the location of where I want to put that property. So I can just select that location, hit enter, and then and there you see the declaration. And when I'm done, say for example, I might want to add some code in the getter or the setter, for example. In fact, here I might want to add something that is that we call a setter guard clause. And if you hover over that, you'll see a preview for what the code will look like there. So page count is equal to value return. That's useful if I have some sort of lengthy procedure here, some sort of lengthy, time-consuming code goes here, right? So you have that setter guard clause. You can also remove it easily as well. So again,
so if the value is not in fact changing, we don't waste cycles on the lengthy process that's going to happen.
Right, exactly. And so I've navigated here, right? I was in the other file. I used the refactoring key to get here, and CodeRush dropped that marker for me. So now I can press escape. I've made changes to the code. If I chose, if you choose to, you can make changes to the code like I just did, and then you can hit escape to get back to where you started, right? And so right back over to. So
we discussed that to some extent last week in our navigation regarding markers.
Right. Exactly. And so that takes us back. So I've worked with I've shown how to declare fields. I've shown how to declare properties. Let's do a simple method, comic book maybe read, for example, and let's put the caret here and hit the CodeRush refactoring. In fact, let's send it some parameters actually. Read, and we might want to say narrator option dot fast. Okay. So let's actually declare, so when you have the situation where you have something here and something inside and both of these pieces are undeclared, the best way to do this is to declare the pieces inside first. The more CodeRush knows about what you're passing in, the better it can make this declaration. Right? If you were to just start this right now and to put this in here, that read method is probably going to have an object that it's going to pass in.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, there's no way for it to know what the inner object is as yet, is there? So
exactly.
Object is clearly the best match.
So, all right. So let's come in here to narrator option, and let's hit the CodeRush refactor key, and let's choose declare enum. So there we have narrator option. Fast is in there. We can add slow, maybe medium, for example. And now that I've done this, I think I want to change this from narrator option to narrator speed. So I've used, so just in slow motion here, I hold an Alt-Shift and left arrow to select just from the caret up to that first uppercase letter, and then I hit F2 to rename, and then I'm going to call this speed like that, and CodeRush syncs all that up. So that's slightly off the topics of what we're going to talk about here, but I want to, in case this is the only one you watch, I want to show you some other features that are inside CodeRush, show you what I'm doing. Okay, so there's narrator speed fast in there. Let's say maybe instead of adding medium here, let's take that out, and let's come down here and put it in there. Or maybe we have a reference somewhere else. But we're here now. We can hit the CodeRush refactor key, and we can now choose declare enum. In fact, actually, I misspoke. I didn't actually choose it. It actually just did it because there's a default option that says if there's only one thing available, just do it. You can change that option if you want. And now that I've said it, I should show it. So DevExpress options. This is an option that we moved, and I'm trying to remember where it is. Smart tags. So editor smart tags, and when the smart tag key is pressed, if only one option is available, execute the provider immediately, or show the available provider on a menu. So that's where you would change that if you wanted to change that, so you can see it. And that might be good if you're kind of getting up to speed with CodeRush and you want to just verify everything that's happening. So if I come back here and yes, Amanda.
We have a request. I don't know. Sometimes you can show your keystrokes that you're doing on the screen. There's an app. Is that something you can show?
I do not have that. We'll need to copy that in, and I can. You know what? Let's do this as a suggestion for next time. Because I don't want to stop. Well, you know what? Actually, you know what? I will. I'll go ahead and let me copy it in. Let me go find it, and I'll copy it in. And I'm in a virtual machine, so it'll take a moment, and we'll have to restart. We'll have to restart here. So let's do everything. But for the folks that are, when we edit this, we'll just take this moment out. So my apologies to everybody who's listening in live. Let me just confirm that I can actually find this quickly here.
It was just a request, and I didn't know what was involved, so I thought I'd throw it out there.
No, it's okay. Okay, I've got it here. Give me 1 second to bring up the About box. Click on plugins. Let's close this. And that should, in a moment, should bring up my, here we go, here it comes in. So when you click on the plugins button, you get two folders that are coming up, that'll come up. And what I can do is now take the my KeyWatcher DLL and drag it in over here. Did it make it? I can't tell. Sometimes the virtual machine is, there we go. Sometimes the virtual machine is a little slow to respond. Okay, so the KeyWatcher DLL is in, so now this should load up, and I should be able to show that. So hopefully the delay is not too significant. And for folks who are watching live, you've just learned how to install a plugin into Visual Studio. So we'll confirm that that plugin is actually available, and who knows, maybe we will not edit this out. Maybe we'll just have Jeff just cut out the parts that we say we're going to edit this out. This may be, in fact, interesting.
Maybe
All right, so till Windows,
or
keys.
useful.
Here's the key plugin right here. And for folks who have CodeRush and organizations and want this plugin, we give it away for free. Just you send me an email, markm@devexpress.com, and I'll send this to you.
Yeah, I've also got that.
I'm not sure if we have this.
Send that out to anyone who wants it as well.
Yeah, and so, okay, so let's reopen that MVC app that we had up before. We've got the keys up here. You have to right-click it, I think, and looks like Visual Studio is prepping the solution. How's my audio quality, by the way, guys? Is it okay?
It's not too bad here.
It's a little Mad Max at times.
Okay, so that could be just actually me. Okay. The way, no, I'm kidding. Hold on a second. What do I have here? Yeah, Virtual PC is sucking up a lot of my CPU time. So we'll just keep going with this, and let's hold on. Just there we go. All right. So this is, we can still work while this is happening. This is just CodeRush in the background, parsing the projects and the solution that I've just brought in. So I was talking before about declaring a method and using consume first development, right? So we can specify the parameters that we want to send we might also have like a welcome message that says greetings, reader, something along those lines, and we'll pass that in. So now that we've passed in those parameters to it, or maybe a starting page number as well, like start from page 1. Okay, so now that we've got this from a consumption standpoint, right, we can go in here and hit the CodeRush refactor key. Oops, let me right-click this and choose enable so we can see what I'm hitting. So I'm hitting that num0 key. There it is right there. Down arrow, declare method. And so now we're targeting. We can just close this down, and we will select the location for this. Oops. Let's try that again because I think I clicked out of it. So one more time. Declare method. All right. So we can select the location for it using up and down arrow keys. Enter confirms the location, and now we have narrator speed coming in. We have. Let's close this so we can see more. So this was my message, and this is my starting page, for example.
I see it was also clever enough to pick up on the narrator speed as a prompted suggested name for that other
yes,
there.
Exactly. In fact, you know what? Let's do this a second. Let's come back and let's change this. Let's select this. By the way, you can do introduce local on primitives like constants or primitive values like this just by selecting them. Normally, it's not available. If you just hit the CodeRush refactor key and you don't select a primitive, it will not be available. You just have options to introduce the constant. But if you want to introduce a local, you can select it like that, and then you have introduce local available. And so now we can call this a starting page, and we can come in here and select this string and choose introduce local as well, and call this the message. Okay, and now we can come in here, hit the CodeRush refactor key, and choose declare method, and now we should have better names. Narrator speed message, starting page.
That's very useful because I can picture a situation where in the same level that you're doing read, you might have several other methods that maybe take different combinations of those parameters. So maybe you're generating read and something else and then something else. But in all three cases, you'd have had sensible names put in place then, and so you wouldn't have had to repeat this process.
Yeah. So using introduce local is nice in this context. We can also do things like once we're here, is we can come in and we can promote to parameter. For example, we can take this and just say let's pass it in as a parameter. So very fast and easy, right? I said let's do it, and it took me 2 keystrokes, 2 big fat keys to make that happen, right?
Yeah.
M0 and enter there to pick the first one. So the other thing we can do as well is let's go over here into the comic book constructor, and let's paste this in. Okay, so we're now passing the same parameters in. Let's take this and move this up so we can actually see that reference. And now it says CodeRush is showing us that we don't have that yet. But that's okay. We can come in here and we can declare a constructor. We should get those same pieces coming in. Now, I've shown this before, I think, in the past, but this is a really powerful feature of CodeRush. If you have the caret on a parameter and you want to tie that parameter to either a field or a property of the class that does not yet exist, just hit the CodeRush refactor key and choose either declare initialize property or declare field with initializer. I think we're going to rename this one to declare initialized field, by the way. So if I do that, there it does that. It does that for us automatically right there. Builds that for us. If I hit the tab key there, you can see the declarations put with the other fields.
That's very common, especially in constructors as well.
Yes, exactly. In fact, and then I can hit escape to get back to these locations right here. Narrator speed, same thing. Let's declare an initialized property for this one right here. And so now we have a property called narrator speed with getters and setters. So we just did that one at a time for each of those. Let's we'll go ahead and we can keep that code in there. Actually, you know what? Let's do this though. No, let's go ahead and take it out for a second. Let's come up here. There's one additional feature that's available on constructors only, and I just spoke with the developers this morning about this, and we'll actually change this for 11.1 to make this feature, these two right here, declare initialized fields and declare initialized properties, will make those available on any method. So if you have multiple, here I'm going to do one thing that I want to remove here, which is that narrator speed piece, so we can demonstrate this. So if you have multiple fields and you want to hook all the fields up to properties or all the fields up to field, I'm sorry, I misspoke. If you have multiple parameters, and you want to hook all those parameters, assign all of those to either fields or all of those to properties, you can do it in one step if you're on a constructor right now in 10.2, just by choosing one of these two. I'll go ahead and choose declare initialized properties right there. So now it's built properties for us for each one of these, and they're linked up. These green boxes mean they're linked up, so I can change this. For example, I just call this, I may want to call this reading speed, for example, instead, okay? Or just speed. Okay, so they're all hooked up. I can make changes to those if I want to, but it declares all of them and it hooks them all up. Right now, like I say, only available in 10.2 on constructors, and in 11.1, our intention is to make it also available here on any method that has multiple parameters that have not been assigned, that have no assignments inside of the method body. Okay.
So Mark, just because you're reaching the end of that, we've had a question in the chat room here. Just you may be leading on to this anyway. It says, what about declaring events in a consume first manner?
Okay, so let's look at that.
To help with that,
we have some things. So the let's go back and I'm not sure if we have it from the. Let's see if we have it here. I don't think we have it here. I'm going to put that on page flip. Plus equals new. Now we're kind of in some trouble because we've got to like actually write, declare what that, the event handler piece is going to be on that. And I could say page flip handler. Yeah, I have a feeling this is not going to work. Is my sense. We have to actually come down here and declare it. There's a fair amount of code in what I'm about to do, right? I have to come down here and declare the handler as well. Let's just see if that works all by itself. Yeah, it doesn't see it. It sees it as a property. It doesn't see it as an event. So the answer is no, we cannot hook up events this way. However, I would recommend...
If we already had page flip, would it generate for us the stub of page flip handler?
Yeah, that we can do. So let's go back over into comic book and let's create page flip. So what I can do here is I can type in EV for an event. That's the template to get me to an event. I can just have a regular event handler and then paste in page flip like that. So now that I have that, I can now come in here and I can choose create event trigger for this if I want to.
Okay.
Okay. Where we have on page flip, and there's my event triggering code, and it is it's thread safe. So if somebody decides between here and here to stop listening to take away their handler, you don't get an access violation, a null ref violation. Okay. So that's one thing to do. But let's get rid of this on page flip, and let's change this instead to a specific event, a new event that doesn't exist yet, a page flip. We'll call this handler. Okay, it does not exist yet. Now we can hit the CodeRush refactor key, and we can choose declare delegate. Okay, and then that gives us our delegate. Okay, and what I like to do is I actually like to kind of move this out. I'm kind of a fan of putting this like around here, maybe in its own file of delegates, but you can keep it in if you want to, either way. So now, whoops, we've got a reference here, so page flip. This is going to be something completely different. Let's just comment this out for now. We'll escape to jump back. Okay, so I've got page flip handler. Let's come in here to the event args, and let's create a new event arg piece called page flip event args. Okay, so now, so right, what have I done, Rory? I used the EV template. I started with the EV template.
Yeah.
Right? So we kind of break the consume first declaration rules a bit, but the reason I like to do this is because it is the fastest way to do this, the most efficient way to do this, and to give CodeRush the information it needs on what we're building, right? And then everything else will fall into place. So we start here. Second thing I did is I changed the name of the event handler to something that didn't exist. Then I used the CodeRush refactor key, selected create delegate. That gave me this. I moved it up right here, and then now I've just changed event args into something that doesn't exist. Hit the CodeRush refactor key, choose declare event args descendant. And now it's given me this, something that descends from event args. Look where it places the caret, Rory. It's right inside the parens. So now I can pass in, use VI for variable of type integer, and then call it like the page num. oh, you know what? It's really going to be more like this: the old page num and the new page num. That's what we're going to have, really. And so we'll do vi new page num.
That was clever.
Like
Did that just put the comma in for you?
Yes, it did. So, that's not something you've seen? Is that a pandering question, or did you really not see that before, right?
I have not seen it do that before. I've been typing my commas in.
Yeah, so you don't have to put a comma and then like a VI here, right, when you're using the templates. If you just do a space in VI or whatever V template you want, it'll stick a comma in there automatically for you.
Nice.
Okay? Okay, I'm on a constructor, Rory, so what can I do? I can hit that, use that declare initialize properties.
Yep.
Right? So we'll do that. Everything's hooked up for us. Not bad, right? Let's hit escape, to get back. Where else are we? We're here. Now that we've got a page flip event of type page flip handler, let's hit the CodeRush refactor key. Excuse me. Choose create event trigger, and select where we want to put it on page flip event args. Right now we're just. I might as well finish this up right like this. Let's call turn page or go to page. Go to page. Right. Vi new page. Right. Then we're going to do something like this. We'll call on page flip. The last bit is making the call. We'll pass in this. We want to say new page flip event args, and we're going to pass in the old page number. Well, we'll say like current page num doesn't exist yet, right? Pass in new page is the next piece we're passing in, right? And then we're going to say current page num is equal to new page, like that. With the CodeRush refactor key, let's declare property. Current page num. Oh, you know what? Let's undo that because I want to actually declare property with backing store or auto-implemented, one of the two. So these two right here are my options I really want to do so I don't have to. All right, so there's my current page num and my go to page.
And it knows the type of that as well because it knows the parameter requirements of page flip event args say that has to be an integer. So it's that reverse engineers it and just slams it in place.
Well, that is what it looked like, but I had the caret here, right here. And so it really got it from this assignment, I believe. But if we comment that out, Rory, you're about to be right. And I'm here. Well, wait, let's go delete this. Escape to get back. And now we do it. Rory, are you laughing? Because every time we do this, we discover something interesting. Is that what did I hear that?
No.
Here we go. Declare property. Let's watch what happens. And it's a type int. There you go. So right here.
So it does its best basically to gather the type from wherever it possibly can. As you say, in the first case, you got it from the assignment. But in the second case, there is no assignment yet. So it has to assume that since you're passing it to something that requires an int, it will now be an int itself when we declare it.
Exactly. And one of the things that's really cool about this logic here, Rory, is if you have overloads, it finds the overload that best fits based on everything but the thing you're on.
No.
Does that make sense?
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
So if I had another constructor that took two strings, for example, it would still. Let's do it. Let's do it. I make a claim. I might as well go in and prove it. So let's do another constructor on this, and let's not do any of those right there. And we'll just pass in. We'll do VS P1 and then VS P2 like that. All right. We'll hit escape to go back. Current page num. Let's get rid of it. Escape to get back, and let's see if it's going to get it as an int. Let's put it right there so we can see it fast. There it is. It's an int, ladies and gentlemen. See
Excellent.
it? Let's change this. Let's change it. I just undid. I did an undo. Let's pass in a string. Or you know what? In case you think any kind of tomfoolery is going on here, I'm not sure what that word means actually. Let's go back up over here into this, and let's change this one to bool instead. So I just used T for type and then B for bool right there. That's how I got that T that really quick. Let's pass in, we'll pass in F for false. Come in one more time. Now it should get it as a string. There it is.
Very good.
It's
so
awesome.
As you say, it is. It's finding the overload that best suits without the information of obviously what it's going to make this particular parameter. So it's excluded the other one because it knows you're not passing an int, and it's chosen this other one instead. Very nice.
Yeah, in most cases, CodeRush is brilliantly intelligent. It really does a lot of, I guess what I want to call due diligence, right? It does a lot of exploration to get the best understanding of what needs to happen. The whole value in this is that you don't have to type in string now, right? You don't have to look at a dialog that says, which one do you want, right? And so there's extreme value in CodeRush, doing that due diligence and getting it right. Okay, so we've written a lot of code, but if you've been watching down here in the keys window, we're not really pressing a lot of keys, right? We're doing a few things. And the last thing we did for page flip, the last thing we need to do is we need to come over and create the event handler for it. And so I recommend going about events in reverse order. So we come down in here now that we have page flip declared. We come in here, tab to insert it, tab one more time. So we just use Visual Studio's features to do that. Roy, you want to say something?
Well, I was just going to say that does exist in our own system as well for earlier versions of Studio that don't have this facility built in. And this is a great feature when you're coding against a library that somebody else wrote. So you're going to assign a handler to an event that is attached to an object you don't control, and you don't know necessarily the facility, the parameters to that handler.
Right.
I hate having to go and look that stuff up. Often it's a copy-paste affair, and in my case, I think VB was perhaps lacking in the IDE facilities there. But CodeRush is one of these things that stepped up to the plate and provided me just a quick declare event handler, and it was just a beautiful thing to have in place. It saves so much typing.
Oh, that's right. I think we added this in VB. It was not added to C# because it's already in C#. Oh, that's really cool. That's very cool. Yeah, sometimes we do that, right? If there's not a feature parity, we will create a feature for one of the two languages that brings it up to speed with the other one. We actually did that at Microsoft's request for one of the versions of CodeRush Express. We had it fake auto-implemented properties by collapsing them onto a single collapsed region and displaying them as if they were auto-implemented. And that was at the request of the Visual Basic team. So yes, we will sometimes do this to create feature parity. One of our missions, for the design team is to really make the language you choose kind of irrelevant and make it so that you're able to think more in terms of the design rather than the specifics of the language. And to that end, we make it so that if you transition from VB to C# or C# to VB, you can press the same keystrokes and the same things tend to happen in both languages. Yeah. The same code is created. Okay, let me look at my list and see what we are missing. So I showed. Let's see what we've done here. So we have not shown creating structs and interfaces. Those are kind of simple, but we can go ahead and do a real quick one on that. So I can say a new reader, for example. We might make this be a struct, and we'll pass in a name of the reader and I don't know, maybe something along those lines. We'll just keep it simple like that. So we can say, let's declare a struct. So instead of a class, we choose struct, and we'll call this name, something along those lines like that. Okay? So we can declare structs, and we can also come in and we can do something like this. We can say like interface, or wait, I want to do like, sorry, I want to have it like comic, and I can say, this is a feature that is useful in C#. So if I've typed in a type that doesn't exist yet, and I want to create or even if it does exist, and it's just like this on the line, and I want to create a variable for it that's essentially named the same way, I can just hit Control-A. And instead of selecting everything, in this particular context, it'll do this auto-declare feature. And so I've got comic is equal to that right there. And so if I have something like this, I can come in and I can say, let's declare the interface, iComic. Hit escape to come back, and down here on comic, I can now make a call to a method that doesn't exist, like read, for example. And now that I've got this method, I can hit the CodeRush refactor key, choose declare method, and it puts it inside of iComic for me right there. And then jump back. So declaring interfaces and structs, the same thing. It's just a different menu item. Declaring constructors, I'm pretty sure I showed you that. I changed the parameters up here for the constructor, and we declared a new constructor for that. So I'll give you one more example on that. So if I put like, let's pass in 0 here, get over on this point, and choose declare constructor. So there it'll give me a new one right there. Okay? All right. So let's hit escape to get back. And let's see, going through my list. So declaring locals, I showed that, and declaring fields, I started with that. Initialize field and properties, we showed that. Interfaces, And oh, the one method, there's one thing I didn't show for methods. Let's say that our story class was abstract. So I'm going to type in AB spacebar, and that's going to give me the extract to spit out right there. And let's call a method inside here, finished reading, like this. And let's hit CodeRush refactor key. And now that we're in an abstract class, we have an option to also declare the method as abstract. So let's go ahead and do that, and we get that right there. So
nice.
We'll go back. I'll just jump back so you can see it. There it is. Okay. So finish reading. So nice, right? You're saving a lot of keystrokes when we're doing these kinds of declarations. I showed events. I was going to show you those anyway. The question just veered us off anyway. And the last thing I want to show before we show the new 11.1 features are the features of MVC navigation. So model view controller. So or not navigation, I mean, but declaration. So here I have some action links, and I just created one before we started the session here with an action called checkout in a controller called shopping cart. Neither of these exist yet, so I can just hit the CodeRush refactor key, and I can choose one of the two declare controller options. There's the option with the Visual Studio icon next to it will actually bring up the Visual Studio UI. Here it says add controller. The downside to this is because it's their UI, we are not at this point able to suggest a name for you, so you have to type in shopping again. The advantage is you get this additional option right here to add action methods for these pieces, right? But you can use that if you want to. So click on add there, will give you that. I'm going to hit cancel though, and I'll show you the other one that we have as well. So the CodeRush refactor key and choose declare controller without the Visual Studio icon next to it, and that will invoke our declaration. And here's right here. So we've declared the shopping cart controller for you, and we also give you the checkout action result as well. So that's just built for you automatically. If we come back over here and let's copy this one, and let's do maybe view cards. There's another option right here. And we'll give it an action name of view cards, and we'll put it in that same shopping cart. Here, if I hit the CodeRush refactor key, oh, wait, why isn't that available? Declare controller should not be available. Oh, come on. I don't know. You know, it's normally this is, I'm pretty sure this is supposed to work, but it's not working like I'm expecting it to work. So I will just say at this point, you can normally declare an action right inside of there, but it's not finding that. Let me just change this to home and see if that has any update to it. There we go. It's able to do it now in here, but it wasn't. Let me see if I change it back to shopping cart again. See if it was just a brief intermittent. No, it's not. So something I think maybe hasn't parsed shopping cart yet. Maybe that's my guess. I'll have the devs look at this and we'll see what's going on with that, and we'll make sure we fix that for an upcoming release. So, but the essence of this is that if you want to be able to declare an action, you can do that. Hit the CodeRush refactor key, choose declare action on the undeclared action, and then it'll go put that inside of the location, and there it is right there. There's view cart declared for you. What else? I wanted to go back into. I wanted to go into shopping cart controller, and I wanted to go here. And I want to show you one more that's available for you, and that's declare view. And this one we do have the Visual Studio icon next to it because it's a fairly sophisticated dialog. There's no option to bypass this, and so but you can select that and you can create a view based on that from this point.
So when we see the little Visual Studio icon, we're effectively providing just a shortcut to functionality already provided by Studio, but maybe in a better place. You know, you don't have to remember the keystroke or whatever.
Right. In fact, we've actually had requests from customers, and I agree with these requests to put more Visual Studio functionality inside of the code and the refactor menus. It's just that it's one key to remember instead of like one plus all the Visual Studio keys.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, so let's switch back now over into my daily build here, and I'll show you the new 11.1 features that we're working on that have to do with consume first declaration. So one of the features we're working on, and it's not a feature that you can see. You're not going to see these words in a menu, but internally we're calling this deep declare. And the idea is this: if we have like element kryptonite and element hydrogen, see these right here? They're both references to a to what I want to be enum, but then nothing has been declared yet. If you know what, let's switch back over into here and let's show this in. Let's show an example of this here. In fact, let's just copy the code that I have in Visual Studio here in my tell method, and we'll paste it in over here. So we have the same kind of thing over here. So here we go. So if we're here in 10.2 and we choose declare enum on element.kryptonite, it just gives us kryptonite, right?
Okay.
And then so what we need to do is we need to tap the next reference to get down to hydrogen, and then we come down here and we choose declare enum element.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's how it works now in 10.2. If you get a daily build, or if you are watching this and you have 11.1, if you're watching this sometime, you know, in the distant future from when we're recording this, or the near future rather, and you're down here on element.kryptonite, same code, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's close this down so we can see more code. Hit the CodeRush refactor key on element and choose declare enum, and what deep declare does, right? It's the same feature name, right? But what deep declare does is it deeply searches through the code to find all other references to element and any other subpieces that it has, sub-elements, and finds them and declares them, right? So this allows you to essentially do this consume first declaration, write a fair amount of code, and then come in and say, okay, now declare, if you want to.
So what sort of scope is that searching to find these other potential references?
You know, I'm not sure of the exact answer on that. When I talked to the devs about this, I did not spec that out. And
to be honest, I wouldn't expect it to search. I mean, there's two levels. You could either search the current method or you can search the current class. Going beyond that, it's a bit unlikely that you'd have undeclared stuff that far away. If you've got that, then you're trying to do too much in parallel, perhaps. You know, you're likely to be context switching a little too quickly there.
Yeah, so let's test it. Dot, or if we'll say element equals element dot helium, then we'll have that code. So now let's see what happens. We'll, in fact, let's declare it from here. My sense is, well, let's see. Yeah, it looks like it's the file. It's bigger than the method, and I don't think it makes sense to go beyond the file. So I'm pretty sure we're not going beyond the file because we tend to work right in this area. But I'm not sure. I'll check into that, and we'll I'll get an update out when we blog about this webinar. I'm not sure how wide that scope is, and now we can see clearly that it's at least the class. So that's deep declare. Let's go in and let's go into superhero and come in and choose declare class. Oh, I forgot to show declare class with properties. That's the one I didn't show. So let me show you this first. No changes have been made on this one yet for 11.1. So this still works the way we're expecting to, that you can see in 10.2. Let me undo that so I can see what's going on here. If you are on a constructor and you have parameters to the constructor and you choose declare class with properties, it will find it'll set up a relationship between every parameter to the constructor and a property that it declares for you. So I'm going to get two properties with this since I have two parameters. So declare class with properties will come in and give me two of these, and I can say the first one is going to be name, for example, and the second one will be age. And all I'm doing is I'm just typing in those two things, and look at the code it's given me, right? See that, the whole thing there? I have my properties, everything is built in. And normally this would take a fair amount of time. Now I simply don't need to even think about those things anymore. I just pass in the parameters that I want to the constructor, type in the names of the parameters, and I get those things hooked up. So that is declare class with properties. Let me undo this though. I want to show you what the change is on declare class. So declare class is enabled now with this deep declaration. I'm sorry, this deep declare kind of deep scan functionality. So take a look at what's going on in this code. I have the Superman variable of type superhero not declared. Superman.sidekick is equal to new mortal. Mortal is not declared. superhero.foil, pass in a string.
I was going to say, Mark, you've got a lot of code there that isn't declared. You've got squigglies all over the place there.
I certainly do. Yeah, right. Normally, you probably wouldn't do this much. Let me go ahead and at least declare villain here. We'll start with the villain because it's a little simpler. We'll choose declare class, and it's going to come in and it's going to find everything that's going on with that piece right there. And so here you go. You've got its weakness. We're hatching a plot. Its evil plan. We've got the param coming in here for the villain. We've call that, for example, name. And it's not too much work to go in and fill this out the rest of the way, right? Plot is still undeclared. That's okay. We'll go ahead and declare an initialized property of that same type. So now we have the evil plan here. What's happened with something happened with my
small indentation issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a CodeRush issue. Let me just maybe CodeRush didn't do that. So anyway, yeah, indentation was. I wonder if it's because of the undeclared piece on there. So we have still undeclared pieces, but we're able to get a lot of that with deep declare. Okay. So let's hit escape to jump back. Let's go into Superman and watch this as well. We'll come into Superman. We'll say declare class. Watch deep declare go to work there. And so here we go. We have it again. We have arch nemesis. This is a declaration issue for 11.1. We'll fix that by the time we ship, so it doesn't use the namespace reference in there. Mortal is undeclared, but it's of type sidekick. Plot is undeclared as well. And then the other things. We've seen those pieces there. Let's go ahead and declare plot. See what happens with plot. How smart we are there with plot. Yeah, check it out. So I was here on this reference to plot, but it saw that plot had a constructor that took these parameters to it. Right? If we go out in here and we search through that, there you can see it. So we're passing in the name of our plot and the countdown. That's what's coming in there. Just using tab to next reference here, and then now I can come in here and I can say the name of the plot, hit enter, come over here, element, I'm okay with that name, and then the countdown, for example.
And if we had name parameters being passed to that constructor, those names would have been inferred in here anyway. You might not even have had to type name there.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I forgot. That's another one I forgot to do. So, man, if you're listening, yeah, here we go. Here's another one I forgot to talk about. So let's look at this right here. We've got new comic book. Let's declare it. Let's declare the class. So we've got comic book. Oh, wait, let me undo that. I wanted to actually keep these commented out for now. Let's declare the class because I wanted to show you. So we've got a simple class, declare comic book, and let's uncomment these pieces out. Let's use a CodeRush refactoring called convert to initializer. Notice it works. The refactoring works even though we have undeclared pieces in the code. Okay, I can hold down the control key to show you that preview hint if it's blocked by the menus. So we'll go ahead and choose convert to initializer. And now I wanted to show this. This is the last declaration piece. This is existing already in 10.2. Hit the CodeRush refactor key, and you can choose declare properties right here. And it'll take all the properties from the initializer, and it'll just declare them for you right there. There's page count and title declared right there.
Nice.
Okay? So that's it. You see a little bit about what's coming in 11.1. Yeah, I'm super psyched about that. Being able to be more intelligent, having more intelligent declarations. It saves a lot of keystrokes and allows you to do more with the prototyping at this consumption level.
Yeah,
do you have any other questions? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, it looks like at the moment you pretty much stick the carrot on anything that's got a squiggly under it, hit that refactor key, there'll be a declare option to create that individual piece exactly as it should be with all the correct typing. The difference going forward into 11.1 is it's going to look around a little bit further. So for enums, if there's other types going on there, or if there are other properties and other methods and things on the class, it's going to go a little bit further and flesh those things out even further. So it's going to save you that extra level of time.
Yep. That's it. Do we have any other questions? Are there any questions from anybody out there who's...
There's nothing specific listed.
Yeah, there's nothing specific. I put out a call for questions if there are any, so maybe give our audience a
quick question, Mark. Going back a little way, sorry, Amanda. When you were doing the auto declare, that's not a feature I use in VB because it doesn't make sense the way around we have our types. But I did notice some clever stuff with the naming going on there. It was intelligent enough to strip the I away from when it was making an instance of an interface. Yes. It was intelligent enough to know that because it had an I prefix, that this is an interface that can be created and that's an extra option for you. So there's a lot of subtlety involved in some of these things.
There is. For example,
but it just works. You don't need to know how. It just kind of naturally gives you that which you probably would have created anyway.
Right. Yeah, it does. And this, for example, villain right here, it gives me an underscore villain on it based on my naming conventions. So inside of options, if we go to code formatting, wait, it's not formatting, is it? It's code style, sorry. Code formatting, this is top secret, never mind, don't look at that. And pay no attention. All right, so code style, let's jump over to C#. And so I say my fields start with uppercase letter and an underscore, but if I change that to, like, say, for example, lowercase letter and an underscore, then I can come in here and use auto declare, and it'll do it that way instead. So auto declare was kind of an older feature, Rory, and I don't use it so much now. I generally like to use templates anyway. Like if I would, for example, if I'm going to do a lot of work with villain, I would right-click it and I would say use type in templates, use the letter V for it, and then come in here if I want to create a new villain, I'll just type in NV like that, and it gives me this whole piece, right? It gives me the name and everything like that. I don't need to worry about all of that. So you know, I
like to
rarely
give ways to do things anyway, because your own personal preference and which angle you're coming at it from, these things can vary, and yeah, a few ways to do the same thing isn't always that bad.
You're right. You're right. Okay, so if we have no further questions, thank you, everybody. And Amanda, I'll let you wrap us up.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Rory. All right, so this weekend is the NYC Give Camp, which most of our DevExpress team will be there. It's this weekend, January 14th through the 16th. If you're in that area at all and want to volunteer, you can still do so by visiting nycgivecamp.org. And tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, our analytics evangelist Woody Pewitt presents Data Shaping and Analysis, How to Get Your Users Excited. In this session, we'll learn how to shape a standard relational data source to use as a pivot grid data source. We will then explore how to use the pivot grid to let end users explore the data in a meaningful way. When end users can explore the data in a way that is interesting to them, they can get excited about the data. And Thursday, report styling with reporting evangelist Seth Juarez. Add a little style to your reports. This webinar will cover the basics of styling with our reporting suite. And we have a full lineup of webinars through the end of January. Check them out at devexpress.com/webinars. And of course, every Tuesday at noon is a new CodeRush webinar, so join us next Tuesday for that. And again,
I'm sorry, Amanda, we'll be doing declaring and refactoring properties with CodeRush next Tuesday. So
awesome.
I've just got that up on the screen right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. And again, if you missed anything from this webinar, or you want to review previous webinars or watch the hundreds of DevExpress product tutorials we have online, visit us on the DevExpress channel at tv.devexpress.com. Again, thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for choosing DevExpress.
All right, I'm going to mute my microphone, but we'll keep this up for a little bit, and if anybody has any questions, last-minute questions, we'll look at those and answer those.
Awesome.